I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. So welcome to Women Awakening. I am your host, Cynthia James. I'm so happy to be with you. I get the honor of introducing you to extraordinary women that inspire me, that are change makers on this planet. I really believe that it's the time for women emerging on the planet and that we get to bring our voices and our gifts in extraordinary ways. And so I just want to invite you to just come back often. We are on Spotify and iTunes and Amazon and YouTube. You can subscribe any of those places and be a part of our tribe. So my guest today is someone new to me. Her name is Shari Brasher. And wow, she is the CEO and executive director of Fresh Start Surgical Gifts. It's a California 501c3 dedicated to providing reconstructive surgery and related healthcare services to disadvantaged children with physical deformities. So she's been with this organization from the beginning. And as CEO, she's had the opportunity to be the force behind the growth and the expansion of Fresh Start, in San Diego with it's Rady Children's Hospital, right?
Rady.
And Rady, it's Rady, okay. And Comer Children's Hospital in University of Chicago Medical School and the American Society of Plastic Surgery. So this is impressive, ladies. Under her leadership, over $46 million in highly specialized medical has been donated to disadvantaged children with physical and cosmetic deformities. Wow. Please, let's say hello to Shari. How are you? And I'm so glad that you're here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. It really is.
Well, when I heard about the work that you were doing, all kinds of sparks went off because it's such a big calling and it's such a big gift that you're bringing. And a lot of people look at successful people and they think that they just knew what they were going to do when they came on the planet and everything just flowed right into it. But we would like to know just a little bit, where did you come from? What was your childhood like? And were you always interested in this kind of thing?
Well, it really ties in directly. I mean, I come from a long lineage of doctors in my family, and I did go to pre-med school at UC Irvine. So it was my idea to one day maybe be in the medical field and even surgery. But when I was really young, it was interesting. I grew up in Laguna Beach, California, way back in the day. And then my dad got a temporary job transfer to Bakersfield. And it was a really terrible experience for me. I am full-blooded Japanese. You might not be able to tell that about me, and you'll understand in a little bit. But when I moved, I was really teased about my heritage. I didn't look like anybody else. I looked, completely Japanese, dark hair, black hair, and I took sushi to school for lunch, and that wasn't acceptable either. And there was a point in time where I actually was beaten up because kids were mimicking war and chasing me down the street with trash can lids and broomsticks. And I didn't even really know why, because my family had never talked to me about it. And I didn't even realize that my parents were both in internment camps themselves. We just never talked about those kind of things. In a traditional Japanese family, you never talk about the negative, you just move forward. So I was shocked, as to why this was happening to me, didn't really understand it. I actually had one summer where I never even left my room. I didn't want to go to the store. I didn't go to the movies. I didn't go anywhere. And when it came to getting back to school clothes, I even told my mom I didn't want to go out because I really became somewhat afraid. It's funny because at the time I didn't know why things like that were happening to me. I never knew that even an organization like this existed, but later on in life, I met the plastic surgeon, the founder, Dr. Dennis Nigro. We were friends, and we met through golfing. And he asked me if I would be interested in volunteering for this small little charity he was starting up at the time in 1992. And I said, sure, I'd love to volunteer. I wasn't working at the time. And that's where it all started. And honestly, when I saw what was happening in these kids, it reminded me of me. I had really put that deep down inside and really hadn't thought about it until Fresh Start came along. And it really made me realize that this was something that I wanted to donate my time to. And eventually I went from being a volunteer to making this my life's work.
Well, what an incredible story. And I'm sorry that that had to happen to you. And I really do believe that, circumstances in life are always leading us someplace. They're not always wonderful. This is not a political show, but we're watching the same things happen with Asian Americans right this moment where they're being targeted. And I feel like um, compassion needs to come into the forefront here, because you didn't do anything to be attacked. You didn't do anything to be hurt. And so it did plant a seed of compassion within you.
It did. And, that's the case with every one of these patients that comes across the offices of Fresh Start, is none of them have done anything to deserve what they were born with. And some of them, of course, they suffer some type of accident or abuse as well, but none of them have, as children, have deserved any of this. And then they get teased and they don't understand why. It's story after story about getting teased at school, at the grocery store, on the playground, and parents feeling hopeless because plastic and reconstructive surgery is very expensive. And health insurance can't really afford to cover these things that are considered elective because it's very expensive. And where do you draw the line? It's kind of sad. So, Fresh Start is one of the only organizations in the United States that provides this, not only for the kids here in the United States, but, from kids globally as well. We see kids from all over the world.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
The first one is, how do kids get accepted into your program? Do they apply? I mean, how does that work?
Well, they do apply. Our website, freshstart.org, has the application forms for not only patients, but volunteers as well. And people fill out that application. It's, explains what the problem is. And then, there's always follow-up, because obviously if it's medical, we have to ask for any other medical care they may have received, any type of pictures, those types of things, so that we're able to then put together a treatment plan with the physicians. But it does start with an application online, and then usually a visit to our one of our clinics.
And then what's the follow-up process after they've had the procedure? What's the follow-up process?
Well, many of our patients require more than one surgery. So there is extensive follow-up, which is the reason why Fresh Start was founded, was that, if you go to another country and do surgery, usually smaller type surgeries, then it's a one and done type of procedure. But in many of the cases for our patients, it's more than one procedure. We need to be able to follow these children, figure out where they are and what they need. And, some of them have had as many as 11 surgeries. So we stay in touch with them as an office, and we are the kind of the liaison between the physicians, the surgeons, and the patients.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay. So then where does the funding come from? Because you're a 501c3, and all of these surgeries are being expensive, and medicine being expensive. How do you get funded?
Well, first of all, I want to make sure it's very clear that none of the medical volunteers charge us anything. They do this from the goodness of their heart. I could not do that without them. They really are a bigger piece of the puzzle than I am. The surgeons, anesthesiologists, nurses, medical assistants, etc., all donate their time. So the expensive part is obviously the costs at the hospital, the medications, hotel stays, food, lodging. We pay for the patient and caregiver. And in many cases, if there is not another parent, then we do need to take care of the other kids coming out as well. And the funding does not come from any government funding. It's all private individuals and corporations. And, through our two major fundraisers a year, we have a golf tournament and a big gala. And we have wonderful celebrity figureheads, Alfonso Ribeiro, Marcus Allen, Jermaine Dye, who help us raise money across the country and talk about us and really do amazing work to help us to fund these surgeries.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, first of all, that people are volunteering their time because it's such an incredible gift. So I want to know, when you're a CEO of a company, that's a big job. And I would like to know, how are you having, or do you have work-life balance?
I definitely have work-life balance. I think early on, maybe I didn't when my kids were younger, but when they got a little older, I realized, I didn't, time's going by fast. I didn't want to miss out on a lot of these really critical years. And thankfully, I'm a night owl, so I could get a lot of things done at night. And yes, people might not get my emails till the morning, but I never let anything, go by without getting answered. I return calls during the day, and I do emails at night and things like that. And I definitely try to enjoy the time with my family, and I rarely have missed any sports for my children. So I'm very fortunate in that way that I can sort of mold my schedule around, the things that are happening at home, because I think that is a really big challenge for women. And I highly suggest that you don't miss out, because, my last child, I have two. My last son is graduating next week. He had his last day of school today, and, then they're gone. So it happens in a blink of an eye.
Well, that's incredible. Well, and the reason I asked that question is because for a lot of women, it's very difficult for us to take care of ourselves. We can take care of others and support others and be in service to others, but taking care of ourselves. And so from your point of view, what do you think is the most important thing about caring for you? I mean, your family, yes, but caring for you so that you can be highly effective in this position and be highly effective with your family?
Well, I think it's really important. I think women, I'd love to share with them that they need to really consider that early on, because, I didn't realize about maybe 8 years ago or 9 years ago, I ran into this wonderful doctor here in San Diego who I met through a friend. And, I had some tests run, and I wasn't feeling completely well, but, it found out that I had some major heart issues. And I think it had everything to do with the fact that I was really too ingrained in work and not concentrating on myself. It was all about other people and my kids and my husband and work, which is wonderful. But, you don't realize that you're not 20 something anymore. And, here I am almost 60. And really my doctor said I absolutely would not be here on earth right now had I not come and visited him, changed things about my sleep patterns, my eating, exercising, those things that are really important. Because I mean, what will happen to my kids and Fresh Start kids if I wasn't around? I think everybody's better off if I am around, if I'm working hard and doing these things. And so I think something as simple as just even diet and exercise really is what I found has helped me to be a healthier person and concentrate on myself. I mean, forget the manicures, pedicures, those things. Hair color is a must, but but some of those other things, can go to the side. And really, I found that sleep, eating, and working out is very, very important.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me. I had an adrenal issue, and I had to take a sabbatical. And during that time, it was like I had to change everything because my body was telling me, if you don't, I'm gonna shut you down. So yeah, bravo for you. So I want to know, you started in one place in this organization and then became the CEO. What's your biggest lesson? Because you don't just drop on the planet as a CEO. What's the greatest lesson you've learned in terms of leadership and managing such a powerful organization?
Well, it's interesting. I think it's different in different types of CEO roles, and my job as a CEO of a nonprofit is very different. I think the things that I encounter and the way that I treat people might be different than a for-profit. I did go to Stanford graduate school to learn about nonprofit business. And one of the things that I think was really critical in my learning early on is that, when you're the CEO of a nonprofit, is you really need to take a lower seat. I mean, you have to be less important. You do have to be less important. Every donor, every business person, every patient, every volunteer needs to feel more important than you. I always try to focus my attention on that person. I try to speak very little about myself and always try to listen to what the other person is saying. I try to remember something about those individuals so that I can write it down somewhere. And then, when their birthday comes or I remember that they had a child, I can remember to follow up later, because making other people feel important makes them feel like you care. And I think they're more apt to listen to what you want to share. And I think that the success that I've had with Fresh Start has everything to do with that. My care about other people and my attention to detail about other individuals, and actually truly caring about what they do and not just about the money that they give, has meant everything to me and the ability to run this organization.
Well, what I love about that is that you are a leader with heart. And so that's, and that to me is the best and the highest form of leadership, because caring goes across the board and people feel it, and then they can respond to it. So bravo for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoy what I do. I think that's the other thing. I truly love it. I mean, how could I not? I have patients who come in to the office and, they greet me with a big hug. I feel like I've grown up with them after all these years, seeing them become successful adults that have attributed a lot of their successes to Fresh Start and the experiences, that they've had. Some have become nurses. We even have a patient, one of the original patients we've had, that is now doing residency to become a surgeon. And they all mentioned, they wanted to do it because of their experience with Fresh Start and wanted to give back and hopefully help somebody else in a similar way.
Oh, that's incredible. So tell people how to find you, and if they wanted to contribute or volunteer or whatever, how do they do that?
Well, our website is freshstart.org. We are in San Diego, but we are also in Chicago. And Chicago's a little bit of a newer program. We work with Comer Children's Hospital. It's a partnership with Plastic Surgery Foundation. It's our first expansion site. We're trying to expand into other sites as well. We're looking at San Antonio right now. And it's very exciting because there are always going to be patients who need our help. If it's not financial, we always need more patients referrals. And we also need volunteers. So, I urge you to go to our website, and you can find out anything you need there. You can reach out to me, to anybody in the organization. And, we're at a really exciting time right now because we are just starting to expand some more. And, I'm really grateful to do what I do and have the wonderful staff that I have in all these volunteers. It really is so much bigger than myself. And I feel really blessed.
That's incredible. So ladies, I hope you put that down. What an incredible organization to support. So the last question I ask is the same question of every guest. This show is called Women Awakening. And so I would like for you to know, what's the one thing you think women need to know about the importance of their awakening?
I think the important thing that I wanted to share is, there are a lot of obstacles, and I'm not going to say there are more obstacles for women than there are for men, but they are different. Mm-hmm. And I think the one thing that we all need to realize is that instead of focusing on whatever it is that's holding us back, is we need to become better problem solvers and figure out how to get around, how to get past these obstacles. And once we pass them, you keep them in your memory bank to remember for the next obstacle that we might incur, but don't dwell on those things, because it's really unfortunate. I feel like some of my friends who have a hard time moving forward and becoming successful as they're dwelling on some of these issues. We need to be strong. We need to move forward and use those as building blocks and not as bricks to hold us down.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Shari. I'm in awe of what you do, and I'm so honored to have you been here as a guest and to tell your story, because it's quite wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. I owe a lot to Andrew Gottlieb for introducing us, and I just am honored to be here and talk about these things with you.
Wonderful. All right, ladies, we do this every week. I introduce you to amazing women doing extraordinary things. They're change makers, and they're examples. They're not exceptions. They are showing you possibility. So if there's a calling in you, if there's a dream in you, if there's a desire in you, then there's a way to deliver it, because you're magnificent, you're powerful, you're dynamic, you're original. So whatever wants to come through you, you can trust that there's a way for it to be expressed in powerful ways. Thanks so much for being here. I will see you next week. Many blessings.